today we are launching a new annual series called Living the Vision, and how true it is that to move a vision forward, it must be that we consistently and purposefully move it into our livingness. That's the only way that we can actualize greater potential for ourselves and our world, is to really be living the vision. And so our theme for this year's Living the Vision series is On Course. On course. How is it that we can steer our lives on course? And I would invite you to begin to contemplate what does it mean? What does it mean to truly be on course in my life? And how would that be for me to be on course? I'm pretty sure we can see how easy it is to be diverted off course. There seem to be so many cross currents that push us off the course of our lives, other people's expectations, decisions made a long time ago that we think we can't change, and the winds that blow from all of the things going on in life. We can easily be blown off course, and also to allow our values and our goals in life to become shallow or distorted, to be off course. I'm reminded of this couple. They were experiencing and celebrating their 40th anniversary of marriage, and also they each serendipitously turned 60 that very year. And so it was a 40th anniversary and a 60th birthday for each of them, and they were celebrating it, and all of a sudden a fairy appeared and said to them, "You've been such a loving, wonderful couple that I'm going to grant each one of you the fulfillment of a wish, whatever it might be." Well, immediately the lady said, "I want an all-expense-paid romantic long trip with my husband, a vacation with my husband." And the fairy waved her wand, and boom, there were the tickets right in the lady's hand. And she was so excited, and then the fairy turned to the guy and said, "You get the fulfillment of a wish for you too. What shall it be?" And he paused for a moment, and then he said kind of sheepishly, "Well, I'd like to have a woman 30 years younger than me." And the fairy waved her wand, and boom, he was 90. And you see, you gotta not veer off course. It's so easy to be off course. So easy. I think our hearts really yearn for the on-course phenomenon. So that distinct feeling of being on course. Poe Bronson, an author, wrote, "We are all writing the story of our life. We want to know what it is about. What are its themes, and which theme is on the rise? We demand of it something deeper or richer or more substantive. We want to know where we're headed, not to spoil our own ending by ruining the surprise, but we want to ensure that when the ending comes, it won't be shallow. We will have done something. We will not have squandered our time here." I think that's so deeply true. To be on course is not finding more success or fame or wealth or power, although those may be byproducts. To be on course is to discover and express your core purpose, or what I would call your soul purpose, and then to allow that to inspire you and guide you in your choices and in your action. It's to find those deepest gifts, a part of your essential self, the attributes of the Spirit, uniquely expressed in and as you. That is what it is to be on course. And so we're focusing in this series on 5 pathways to empowering the possible. And our topic today is the first of these very powerful pathways, visioning. So important to learn the skill sets of visioning in our life so that we truly can make the highest within us become the greatest outside of us and in our experience. And we'll be looking at a phenomenon, how it is that we can fall into agreement with limitation, how it is we can fall into agreement with constraints in our lives, rather than really living out purposefully and dynamically that soul vision that is nestled within each of us. Now, I've got a bit of a metaphor for what goes on in this that I brought with me today. This is a metaphor for our lives at times. This is a bag of rocks, about softball-sized rocks, and it really represents what we pick up along the way. We didn't go after the rocks that we carry, but they were on our path, and rather than working with them and going beyond them, we tended to take them and toss them in the bag of our subconscious minds. And so what we carry around with us so very much of the time are the remnants of our difficulties and the remnants of our past. And so some of these rocks that we labor to carry along in our lives, they are the rocks of regrets. You know, the opportunities that we didn't act on, the things that we didn't get a chance to say, the mistakes we made and that we wish we hadn't. Maybe the times that we compromised our integrity or we missed a big opportunity in our lives, the regrets. Perhaps we said or did something to a loved one or some precious one, and we hold it in regret, and we carry it around like this incredible weight in our lives, the regrets. And then we add on to it the resentments. Oh, the things that were absolutely clear we could never forgive. The things that were said to us, the upsets that came our way, the times we may have felt betrayed or humiliated, the times when injustices were our lot or the system let us down. Yeah, we can hold in this bag these resentments. Oh, and then also we're carrying around the dead weight of rejections in our life. Maybe we were passed over for that promotion, or perhaps it was early in our life we were put back a grade or something like that. Or we were dumped by somebody, and it seared us, and we didn't heal, and so we carry it around to this day. The many times we might have gotten the message that we're not good enough. So much heavy rejection that we carry. Oh, and then there's another thing. We carry the weight of resignation. Yeah, those times when we just become resigned to life as it seems to have to be. The moments when we decide that we're not going to really stay true to our dream, that we're letting it go and buying into the necessity for limitations and for struggle as the way of our lives. Opting to resign ourselves to a life of security rather than a life of greatness and boldness and risk and growth. Resignation. So much of this we carry around like a heavy weight in our life. Yeah, the regrets, the resentment, the rejection, the resignation in our lives. And you know it gets heavy. I'm here to tell you. It gets heavy in our life. And we get irritable. And we get miserable. And we take it everywhere. Oh yeah, we take this stuff into our offices or workplaces. We take it into our homes. We take this stuff into the times we try to relax and play or go on vacation. We still drag this stuff along. We take it into our spiritual lives. We take it into our relationships. All of our relationships, such that sometimes it's hard for people really to get to us because they can't see around or get around all the junk we're carrying from our past. And sometimes we even take the stones out and throw it at them, at times. What we carry. So the real question is, how can you have a vision for the future when so much of your energy is used shouldering the past? How can you have a vision for the future when so blasted much of your energy at all levels goes into shouldering your past? Oh, gang, as we start this series, it's time to put that junk down. And I'm going to, right now, put this stuff down. But we carry that, don't we? Put it down. Let it go. Yeah, it was tough at the time, whatever it was, but it wasn't meant to be carried along like this dead weight upon your life. Oh, the great master teacher said, "Come unto me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." The Father within does the work. And we can learn to do that too. We can learn to set the junk aside and let the essential self, the Father within, begin to surface into our consciousness and to begin to reveal to us a path of life freer, lighter, and more powerful that isn't just tethered to the old stuff that hurt, but is freed to build upon that, to learn from that, and to grow from that, and to reconnect with the divine in which we live, move, and have our very being. Oh yeah, to re-embrace that inward knowing of who we really are. It allows us to move from a life that's just a survival dance, carrying around the dead weight of the old and just trying to make it another day, to go beyond that survival dance and to start expressing the sacred dance, the sacred dance of our beautiful soul. You're here to uniquely, powerfully dance a sacred dance of life on course. Somebody has written that you are here to manifest the glory of God. You are born to make manifest the glory of God. Declare with me, I am born to make manifest the glory of God. I am born to make manifest the glory of God. Somewhere in the Bible it also says, stir up the gift of God which is in you. The gift of the divine which is within you. So one of the greatest tools then for getting about the business of our sacred dance is vision. To have a vision that takes us beyond the ordinary, takes us beyond circumstances, beyond the past. To have a vision that is born of something beautiful and sacred. Because here's what a vision does. A vision orients our energies and our efforts around who we really are. That's what a vision does. And that's all important. Now I want to pause here and just remind you that back in the fall, it came to our awareness in leadership that it was time to enhance the vision and mission and the direction of Mile High Church. And we came to you and we asked you to write down what is your dream for Mile High Church. And hundreds of you did that. You wrote it on cards and we kept every single one of them and logged them. And then you wrote a one-word summary and you put them as flags on the fence out here. It was a really powerful experience. Then we got input from our fabulous staff and our beautiful and wonderful board of trustees. And we've spent months and months and months, I promise you, hours and hours, culling over this and trying to find what are the strands of what you've told us is who we really are so that we can articulate even more powerfully who we are and have it guide us and inspire us for our emerging chapters, our greater yet to be. One of the interesting things we finally discovered, maybe because we're slow learners, is that actually our vision and mission statement are really great. They're pretty much fine as they are, and most of you have memorized them. And we realized, they're fine. And you told us there's another element that we want to add to them. And so, since Dr. Michelle didn't do this in the beginning, because I told her not to, we're going to declare our vision and mission, and most of you have it memorized. Our vision, oneness revealed, a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. Yeah, that's still where it's at. We teach oneness with God, all of us one with one another, and that we're about revealing that in all aspects of life for the good of all. And our mission, to serve as a spiritual beacon for personal empowerment and global enlightenment. We're here to serve the truth as a beacon light so that lives can transform and we can make a difference in this world. Those two elements are powerful, and so we're keeping them. But there's the vision of Mile High and the mission of Mile High, and now we add to that the heart of Mile High. And this is what you called out. Let's declare this together, the heart of Mile High. We are a radically inclusive spiritual community dedicated to healing lives and empowering dreams. And what we know for all, you belong, you matter, you are loved, you have a contribution to make. And what we can do, let's face our challenges together and create the world we know is possible. A world of peace, unity, and human dignity for all. Isn't that fantastic? That's what. Yeah. Good job. That's what the collective consciousness of this wonderful spiritual community came up with as an even more white-hot, powerful way to express how we're going to live that mission and vision in our lives. And we'll be declaring that a lot. Not the whole thing, but we'll be declaring the heart statement a lot so we can really integrate that and begin to allow it to move us forward. You see, there's a great power in a vision that evolves and gets ever more clear and compelling. Such a great power. And the key thing about this is the place to find your vision is not up here. It's in your heart. Carl Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." The vision that will make you ever so on course in your life is nestled in your heart. It's what your heart knows, what your heart seeks. The deep, unequivocal truth of your heart. It's undebatable, and it's there. And our greatest job, I believe, is to turn away from all the things we've been told, put down all the heavy weights we've been carrying, and listen. Trust the heart. Listen to the wisdom in your heart, because your heart is both the wisdom and the way. And to consult that wisdom and to really own that your heart knows more than anybody else about you. Your heart knows more even than your mind knows about you. Your heart definitely knows more about you than the past seems to have decreed. Your heart knows. Listen. Trust the heart. And just ask, what does my heart know is my highest direction and purpose? And it will definitely be different from anyone else. It doesn't need to be compared to or justified by anybody else. Your heart knows, and you can trust it and uniquely express it. And sometimes you get a sense of it, and you don't even know how that vision is going to unfold, but you trust the essence, and you let it impel you forward. The wisdom of the heart and the way of the heart, because the heart also knows the way. And there are some skill sets and ways of the heart that I want to share with you today. And there are three of them, and their first letters spell out via, and in Latin that means the way. We go via this route. It's the way or the means by which. And the skill sets are to visualize, internalize, and actualize. Those are incredibly powerful skill sets for bringing your vision, showing the way for your vision to unfold. And so first of all, you've got to visualize it. In the Bible, it says, write the vision, make it clear. And I would add to that, write and see or imagine the vision clearly, compellingly, with great detail and color and beauty. Even if you don't know all of the forms it will take, just see yourself walking in and living your vision and see it with great clarity. And that's a beautiful thing from your visual power. But then you want to take it into your hearts, and that's where you internalize it. That's moving that vision into the energy of your heart, into the feeling tone. You got to feel that it's a reality now. To internalize it is to get so clear about that vision that it becomes real within you, and you feel it. You realize it. You make it real. And as you realize it, you know that it's a living, breathing thing within you. And then you add the feeling tone, the elevated emotions of appreciation and joy. That's to internalize it, to wrap it in this beautiful energy of appreciation and joy, knowing it's a real thing in your inner universe. And having done that, then the last step is to actualize it, and that is to start walking your talk. Start physicalizing it, expressing it in your life, always seeking to live congruently with your vision, to make the words of your mouth, the actions, the things that you do aligned with and committed to this ever-unfolding vision that your heart compels you to embrace. to actualize the vision. Visualize, internalize it, feel it, and then live it, actualize it in your life. That's getting on course. That's birthing a powerful, heart-centered vision. I want to share with you a story written by one of my favorite authors, Robert Fulghum, about a very talented kindergarten teacher. In fact, she had a national reputation for her creativity and excellence in the classroom. And a convention of teachers was being held in her city. And so the organizers asked this very creative teacher if she would produce a play put on by her students. And she agreed and then went to her students and asked, what play or fable or story should we enact? And all the students said, Cinderella, let's do Cinderella. And so they all agreed, and the students started choosing parts. Of course, most of the girls wanted to be the princess, but some of them then got to be the sisters and all of that. And then there was the prince and the coachman and all of the various roles, plenty of roles for the kids, except that when all were chosen, there was one kid named Norman who hadn't gotten a role. And Norman was kind of the kid always picked on. He was kind of tubby, and he seemed off on his own, and the kids picked on him a little bit. The teacher went to Norman and says, well, Norman, what role are you going to play in Cinderella? And little Norman said, well, I am going to be the pig. And the teacher said, well, Norman, there is not a pig in Cinderella. And Norman said, there is now. And the teacher said, well, okay, Norman, that's fine. And so she left Norman to begin to create this epic role, one of the great walk-on roles of all time, as the pig in Cinderella. And the way he did it was that he began to follow Cinderella all around and mimic with his face the energies and the attitudes of what was going on. If things were worrisome, he'd put on a worried face. If they were fearful, he'd be a fearful face. If they were frolicking, it was a frolicking face. And it was really beautiful because everybody could see the energy of what was going on in the play depicted in Norman the pig right there in the midst of it. Now in rehearsal, at the end of the play, as Norman did all this stuff I just shared with you, at the end of it, Norman the pig stood up on his back feet and started barking. Now, that was troublesome to the teacher, and so she said, well, Norman, even though you've created this pig in Cinderella, there's no pig that has ever barked. There's no pig that barks. And Norman said again, there is now. There is now. And so the play went into production, and it received, at the very end of it, a standing ovation, mostly for Norman. Everybody loved Norman the pig in Cinderella. Truly, he was the real Cinderella in the whole thing. Norman the barking pig. Well, word spread that this teacher had concocted this very creative, powerful version of Cinderella, and she started getting calls from other teachers asking, hey, what was so special about this? And she said, well, my kids did a good job, but it created, it had in it a barking pig. And inevitably, the caller would say, but there's no barking pig in Cinderella. And the teacher had been well trained. She said, well, there is now. There is now. Shaman Norman the pig, teaching all of us that we just need to declare when we have a vision, there is now. It is now. When somebody says to us, you're too young to do that. Nobody's ever done that. Well, it's happening now. Or there's nobody who's ever done that at your age. And you could say, oh, there is now. There's now somebody. Somebody might just say to you, there's no advancement in that career. And you get to declare, well, there is now. There is now. Somebody might say, there's no chance for your dream. And you say, well, there is now. Somebody might say, well, you've never used spiritual power in your life before. And you say, well, it's here now. You get to declare that. It's so now. God bless Norman, the barking pig, great shaman. I ran across this interesting thing that happened that really pointed out to me that as we go forth becoming masters of visioning, inevitably we're going to begin to notice where things need uplifting, where there are needs in our life or needs in the world around us. And often those will challenge us to let our vision and our heart enfold them. There was a certain man in a suburb of London named Jonathan Bergman. He was always troubled by the sight of this really awful piece of property right across the street from his office. He was in a fairly modern, nice neighborhood, but there was this plot of ground that was overgrown, filled with trash. Here's a picture of it. It had a big slab of concrete on it with graffiti all over it. It was an ugly, horrible thing. And it really troubled him every time he saw it. One day he went out and he saw another man leaning over the fence, kind of looking sadly at it. And Norman went up to him, Jonathan went up to him. Jonathan, in a Norman consciousness, went up to him. And he shared his sadness about this. And the other guy said, well, why doesn't somebody buy this for the community and make it something for the community? Well, that really got Bergman thinking. And he formed a charity, and he started sharing his dream, and money started flowing in. It took 3 years of negotiation with the owners. Finally, it was sold to him for £25,000. But then he went back to the community and says, what beautiful thing shall we make of this? And he had an initial set of ideas, and it started creating opposition. People wanted this or that, or there were arguments. He spent 2 years trying to deal with all of the different opinions and ideas around what should happen. And finally, Bergman just got fed up, and he decided to start. He just decided to start. So one day he went out there and he started picking up the trash and bagging it and cutting down some of the tall weeds. And within an hour, a couple of other people came by and said, hey, what are you doing? Let me help you. And they dived in, not even knowing what the plan was, and started working on it. Here's a picture of them. A whole bunch of people showed up to start working on this thing with pickaxes and all that kind of stuff, beginning to let a vision coalesce. Well, as this happened, what went initially from an idea of just being a lovely landscaped area, somebody said, we ought to create a peace garden. In fact, let's call it the World Peace Garden. And that's what they did. And now this place has an abundance of flowers. It has some pools. It has some sitting areas, beautiful trees. In fact, there's a tree with little tags hanging from it. School kids wrote their answer to what I want the world to be like when I grow up. And there's a big sign that says, welcome to the World Peace Garden. And there it is, the World Peace Garden. It's this glorious, beautiful place that they all created. It's got places to gather and to sit, and little pathways and beautiful flowers, some ponds. And people gather there. It's a real gathering place for the community to be. A decrepit, old, ugly piece of land becomes a World Peace Garden. And in fact, it changed Bergman's life because it now is a website, and it's a charity that's working on other pieces of property in the London area as well. And they have a statement of purpose for that garden. The World Peace Center Garden is an opportunity to briefly step outside our busy lives and think about a world in which respect for life and the pursuit of peace in every aspect makes more sense than emphasizing divisions and going to war. Yeah. A vision. It started as simply bring forth beauty, but then an even greater vision. Sometimes that would happen. I was thinking as I read that and prepared it for this talk that we've got this land over in the corner where our restaurant used to sit, and we've got a lonely, beautiful sign out there. But it's this big piece of ground. I thought, wouldn't it be awesome if we created a peace garden, a World Peace Garden, as an entree onto our site? Make it beautiful. Put a new and bigger and beautiful peace pole out there. We already have one in front of the Voce Center. Who knows? We'll see how that vision unfolds. But here's what I'm here to tell you. It's time right now, this day. Put down the burden. Put down the past. Set it aside. Take its lessons. Set it aside. Spread your wings. Take flight. Begin to dance your sacred dance of life. And so it is.